I'm gonna share with you the settings I use on the NVIDIA control panel to get the best performance. So I can achieve 120 frames in these demanding games, and so I can use Motion Pro High and get that amazing motion resolution. This game is extremely demanding, and I am getting 120 frames here. It's not going to be a rock solid 120 all the time because the game is super demanding, and I am already at 99% in this shot. But this is very demanding here, this forest area, so for the most part I bet I'm gonna get 120 here. So I'm gonna share that. Let me show you the NVIDIA control panel so you see what I'm using to get that performance. Of course, I have a 3080 and a 5800 X3D, but with my system on this game, I was not even able to get 60 frames. So maxing out the graphics, I was getting like 40 frames per second. So let me show you what I do. I use this NVIDIA image scaling. What this NVIDIA image scaling does, it basically gives you access to these resolutions: 3264 by 1836, 2954 by 1662. So that's what I'm using right now. It's 77% of 4K. But the good thing about these custom resolutions is that they are being scaled by NVIDIA. So that's why it's called NVIDIA image scaling. And what that does, it gives you the sharpness of native resolution. So if you lower the resolution of your native TV or monitor, it looks blurry. So I mean static image, it looks blurry because it's not the native resolution. So what NVIDIA is doing here is giving you the same sharpness of native resolution. And actually it has a sharpness slider. So for example, in some games that have forced TAA, this works very well because they are so blurry that this 50% sharpness helps a lot, and it actually makes the game looks even better sometimes. So I am using this option in Thymesia, which runs a lot better than Steel Rising. It looks, it doesn't look, it's not trying to look spectacular, but it runs a lot better. And sometimes this sharpness slider causes a problem with some TAA implementations, like Elden Ring, for example. On Elden Ring, you cannot use any sharpness on this slider. So what I do is this, just 0 and 0, and it looks better. But many games like Red Dead Redemption, for example, you can use this slider in 50, which is the default value, by the way, because it has a TAA implementation that is a blurry mess. I think they improved that. I'm gonna install Red Dead Redemption Online again and take a look at it and see how much they improved that TAA. So the rest of the settings I use here are, I've been using this for so long that some of them I don't even remember why. So this low latency mode on Ultra, it works very good, especially with G-Sync, which I'm not using when I use black frame insertion, because what this does is going to improve the latency in GPU limited situations. So when the GPU is not at 100% or is not even close to 100%, the latency is better. Okay, so but when the GPU is close to 100%, this is going to make the difference, this low latency mode. Of course, when you're playing at 120 frames, we're not going to notice anything, to be honest. There's no way you can notice that. So the rest of the settings here, of course, prefer maximum performance on this power management mode, just to max out the GPU all the time if we can. I use this texture filtering negative LOD bias on clamp. I've been using this for so long I don't even remember why this is the best option. This texture filtering quality, high quality, and I use VSync on the NVIDIA control panel all the time, regardless of if I'm gonna use G-Sync or if I'm not, because this is gonna be always better than the game. always gonna be better than the game. So this is on all the time for me. That is it. Oh, let me also show you on the resolution page. Many people are worried about, oh, are you using 10 bits? Are you using RGB full of 444 and all of that? That is so irrelevant. You have no idea how irrelevant that is. This is only going to matter, this 10 bits is only going to matter on HDR, okay? It is very important on HDR, absolutely. Actually, it is called HDR10 because of this 10, because it's 10 bits. That's why it's called HDR10. So this is very important on HDR, but on SDR, this is absolutely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Of course, we want to use full dynamic range. The only advantage of using limited is that NVIDIA is going to use dithering, but I can enable dithering with the color control app anyway to improve the smooth gradation, to prevent color banding, to reduce color banding, really. The games that are going to have color banding, you're still gonna see color banding. And of course, I use RGB here. That's it. So the other option I use here when I have a game that is very easy to run, or I just want to increase the resolution, I am going to use these DSR factors. So I go here and I use these two resolutions, these two options. This is NVIDIA Deep Learning Super Resolution, 1.78x of 4K and 2.25x of 4K. So that's 5120 by 2880, which is like 5K, and 5760 by 3240. Okay, so this is for old games that are very easy to run, or if you want to try 60 frames with motion interpolation and black frame insertion at the same time to get the highest pixel density you can, that's gonna be the option I use in that case, and it looks very, very sharp. It actually is fantastic, and not only that, it also gives you some anti-aliasing. It adds some anti-aliasing, so it makes the image. Sometimes some broken games like have a lot of aliasing. That helps a lot, but it is very demanding, of course. So this game is loading textures, and you see the performance goes down, but after you stay for a moment here, the performance actually just stabilizes and improves. So you might think, man, why would you have a high-end gaming PC and use low graphical settings? So because on the game, actually, what I do to get 120, I have to lower the settings. So I have to use medium. So these are medium settings. I only use the textures on high, which maxing out the textures incurs performance in this game. That is unusual, but it can happen. So people might think, how are you gonna play on a high-end gaming PC with lower settings than a console, with lower resolution? So I'm using NVIDIA DLSS on performance, and I am using this resolution, 2954 by 1662. Why would you do that? That makes no sense. The only reason you get a a high-end gaming PC is to get max settings and 4K and all of that. Man, try this. If you have a high-end gaming PC, try this. So instead of trying to get a higher resolution for screenshots, try to get a higher resolution in movement, a higher motion resolution. I cannot show you that on a video. That's why marketing is never, so the propaganda is never gonna try to brainwash people into believing that motion resolution is the best, because you cannot see that on a video on YouTube. That is something you have to see in front of you. So I think most people has been a little bit brainwashed into believe that 4K max settings, that's the way to go, and 60 frames is all you need, and that's actually not the best option. If you have a high-end gaming PC and you can get 120 on this OLED TV with black frame insertion, trust me, there's no going back. After you see this on the game, having the option of maxing out the graphics and using ray tracing, all of that is irrelevant. I don't care, because when I move the camera, it's gonna be a blurry mess. So if I cannot get 120 on the game, I'm gonna try to get 100 frames and maybe increase a little bit the resolution, because this LGC One can do Motion Pro at 100 frames. So if you don't believe me, maybe watch somebody you believe. I saw a Digital Foundry video today, and they were talking about one of them got an LGC One. So one of them has a CX, and another one of them, I forgot his name, I think it's Alex. He got an LGC One, and he was talking about, bro, I tried I tried that Motion Pro black frame insertion at 120 in Doom Eternal, and he was saying that was just better than a 300 hertz laptop screen that he has, a 300 hertz laptop screen, because it is just perfect. When you move the camera, this is so amazing that nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And this game looks blurry anyway. Using this NVIDIA image scaling, the game actually looks sharper. So it looks sharper when you move the camera. It doesn't blur. So it's just the way to go. Of course, I wish I could max out the settings and get the same performance, but I cannot. And I have a 3080 12 gigabytes and a 5800 X3D. So maybe go and watch that Digital Foundry video if you trust them. And I like their videos. I'm glad both of them have an LG OLED. So maybe they start talking about HDR, so they can call out these developers that come with broken HDR, like Spider-Man. For some reason that HDR from the game is broken. Why they didn't mention that, I don't know. They should mention that, because they have a lot of power, and if they tell the developer, hey, you messed up the HDR, you have to fix it, I'm sure the developers would fix that immediately. So I'm actually very happy they got their OLED TV. And yeah, if you have the opportunity of trying this 120 black frame insertion Motion Pro, it is just amazing. And the input lag, of course, I'm 120. And this game actually, it doesn't feel responsive at all. Yeah. So the animation of the jump is a little bit longer, but it feels very responsive. So if I move the camera, see? It feels very responsive. Very responsive. The thing with these Dark Souls games is that the animations of the movements, they take some time. But yeah, it feels so good, it looks so good in movement. Yeah, it's medium graphics, but when you move the camera, you see everything. Like nothing blurs. This looks like a CRT. Not as good, but it looks very good in movement. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and if you have the opportunity, you have the high-end gaming PC, try to get 120. If not, you can use these settings to get a better performance. Period. Because maybe you are trying to use this OLED TV with a 3070, for example, or a 3060, and to get 100 frames or get good performance is more demanding at 4K. So instead of doing that, you can use DLSS in combination with the NVIDIA image scaling, or you can use if you instead have something higher end, or you buy the new 4090, you can use DLSS in combination with that deep learning super resolution, and it actually looks fantastic, because DLSS on quality and NVIDIA deep learning super resolution in the 1.75x is like 4K. It's a little bit below 4K. So you get 4K with good, actually with better you get a 4K like resolution with better anti-aliasing, basically, than native 4K. Because why? Because these games are coming with forced TAA, which is very blurry. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.